You have to remember that the former European narrative, up until decolonization, was an imperialist narrative where Europe had spread itself across the world, that Europe had actually globalized a European set of values, and that the rest of the world was dancing to that tune. It was dancing to that tune and resisting, and often its resistance was recognized by Europeans only in the cultural sphere. That inequality of position that could be compensated for just by culture, formally, now can be compensated for by actual wealth, geopolitical clout, and power. So it's the Europeans who are now going to the Chinese or going to the Indians or going to the Brazilians in a search for markets, in a search for cash help, in a search for many of those very material things. And that changes the terms of engagement completely. Europe has such a rich foundation from which it can innovate and create. Just because it's going through a bad period right now economically and there's a certain loss of confidence, I think European culture and the creativity of European culture has a bright future ahead of it. A lot of people think that Europe is in decline, but this story of Europe in decline is one that we've heard for the last 100 years. It's going to be very difficult to build that narrative on a legacy, saying Europeanness is all of these things that we can put into a pot. Many of these things are values, because those values are now shared by everybody. Those values have spread across the world and have been appropriated, have been spread and have been appropriated. So there can only be a vision of building something for the future. What I call the European model would be a model of governance, a model of social relations, a model of social welfare, which is not a fashionable word to use these days, but I think it has to come back. It may be expensive. We may not have the means. We certainly don't have the means in Europe today to have a welfare state as it was during the 30 wonderful years after the Second World War. And we would never have had those years, by the way, if the Americans hadn't provided the Marshall Plan. But that's, again, another story. So I think it's the notion of model really has to do with how we organize and govern ourselves. And that's where there are indeed things to learn from others. But the degree to which we can produce a distinctive model of our own will be the test of whether others look at what we are doing and have respect for it and come to us to find out more. I'm Raj Isar. I'm an independent cultural consultant, advisor, writer, public speaker. I was born in India, educated there. I've lived in Europe for the last 44 years, and I work all over the world. So I think I would consider myself very much a European at home in the world.